Interestingly, we don't really have the option as Christian girls of just going out there to pick anyone. So it is the ones that propose to you that you now have to screen from. So I want to make it easy for you to screen. So the first thing, he must be an intentional man. Jesus was intentional. The Bible says that it was necessary for him to pass through Samaria to get. He didn't have to, but some other versions say he needed to. He needed to because he needed to meet that woman. If you're going to marry someone, he has to be intentional about you. Jesus knew that meeting this woman, he could change her life, but she also had a part to play in his ministry. So if the guy is coming into your life and he's not adding any value whatsoever, you are not sure, because I hear a lot of girls say things like that. They say things like, oh, he likes me, but he's too shy to tell me. No, he doesn't like you. He likes me, but he doesn't know how to say it. No, he doesn't like you. If he has a job, it means that he went for a job interview and he was able to articulate himself during the interview and he got the job. So if he can do that to get a job, he can do that to get a wife. So he has to be intentional about you. Jesus was intentional. He could have passed a shorter route. Going through Samaria was longer, but he was intentional. He had to meet this woman. Sometimes he will make sacrifices. He will bend over backwards just to position himself in a way that you will notice him. To do nice things for you, sacrifice for you. But sometimes we make it too easy for these men because we are desperate to get married. So at that time when he's telling you all the I love you, sweet nothings, remember it's nothing, even if it's sweet. So you have to see, there has to be action beyond the words. Number 2, he has to be an intelligent man. How are you with someone that all you do is he's touching you? If he's not removing your bra, he's removing something else. You can't have a full conversation. If you're in a relationship, I always tell people, when you're in a relationship, take money and sex off the table. You will know whether there's something really in that relationship. If every time you meet, he just starts kissing you, there's nothing there, nothing here. Can you be stranded and pick up your phone and say, oh, I need to make this decision? And he can give you an answer. Because that's what you guys will do in marriage for the rest of your life. When you are single, it looks like, oh, we can talk about movies, Netflix. That's not what's going to matter at the end of the day. You will need to make serious decisions. Number 3, he must be an interesting man. I don't know about the rest of you, but intelligence is sexy. He must be someone who has something to offer you. The Bible says 2 are better than 1, for they have a good reward for their labor. That means he has to bring some labor to it. He has to be interesting. We have to be able to gist. We have to be able to laugh. We have to have conversations. Number 4, he must have a strong sense of identity. There's nothing as bad as marrying an insecure man. Listen, ladies, you must marry a man whose vision is large enough to accommodate yours. A man who understands who he is. Jesus would walk around everywhere saying, I am the bread of life. I am the good shepherd. He knew who he was. And he was comfortable. He said, you see, the reason why you are talking, I said you should give me water, you're asking me questions, is because you don't know the gift of God that is before you. He had a strong sense of identity. He knew who he was. A man that doesn't know who he is can never recognize who you are. Never. He will want to keep you small. He will want to make you inferior. I had a friend when I was in university. She was married before she came into school, Ife. And this girl was very intelligent. But every time we had a test, for some reason she was absent. Because she had to go home every weekend. Her husband lived in Lagos. We schooled in Ife. She had to go home every weekend. And the real reason why she had to go home every weekend was the man wasn't comfortable enough to leave her in school because he's wondering what she's doing over the weekend. An insecure man. And any time they have a misunderstanding, if he says something to her and she answers, he's like, oh, because he didn't go to university. He's like, oh, so you think you know more than me. You're not going back to school, so he will lock her in the house. This girl finished with a 3rd class. Not because she wasn't intelligent, but she married a man who refused to allow her fly because he was insecure. So marrying a man that is insecure is the worst thing you can do to yourself. Jesus was very confident. She said, how can you, a Jew, ask me? She said, Jesus said, you don't even know what we're talking about. You are still talking Jew. I'm saying you need to understand the gift of God. He must be a man that can sell himself to you. He must be comfortable in his own skin. You shouldn't intimidate him. Because you will do great things. You're called to do great things. So if you marry a man who doesn't want to do great things, guess what? Go press you. So the first thing is what? He must be. Second thing is he must be. Third thing he must be. Fourth thing he must be. He must have strong identity. And the last one, he must be a man who is invested in you. A man who is invested in bringing out the best in you. When I met Pastor Ken, when we got married, I used to be very shy. I know a lot of people don't believe that now. I used to be very shy. I would die first and to stand on a stage like this in front of people. Why? What's happening? I would die first. So when we got married, I had this plan, right? I saw that this guy had great potential. He had the charisma, the looks, and the personality to be on TV, to drive whatever he wanted to do. He wanted to write books. I was willing to write those books. Just hide somewhere in the corner, write the books. He had a church that was thriving. I knew that if I brought in some extra excellence to it, that we would do better. I just had this huge plan that I was just going to stand behind him and be hidden away and be doing great things, I felt like I wanted to be like salt. You don't see salt, but when you put salt in food, you know that it has effect. So I came on board to be salt in his life. But along the line, Pastor K kept saying to me, you're too powerful to stand behind me. I need you to stand beside me. I would say, oh, people like love too much. That's your problem. Pay attention to what I'm teaching you. But there was something about the fact that he saw potential in me. He knew that if he put the right amount of love, guidance, grooming, training, that I would be a better version of myself. So I remember the first time Pastor K got me to preach. We're sitting in church. And so he had preached, then it used to be 2 services, or 3 services, I can't remember, I think it was 3 services. And Pastor K had preached first service. And then he turns over, just the way he's sitting beside Hassan, he turns over to his side and says, you're preaching second service. I'm like, oh, what's that one? What's preaching second service? What's that now? Stop. He said, no, I'm serious. I say, stop, jokes. What preaching was? What do I want to go and say? He said, say what I said in first service. I say, no, I cannot say what you said in first service. I have to hear God. I have to study. I have to say, okay, you better study quickly because second service, you're preaching second service. I was like, no, this is not happening. It's not possible. I thought he was joking. I was like, it's not possible, Joe. Pastor K is playing. He's always playing. Everybody knows Pastor K plays. There's no way. So after first service, Pastor K was just sitting outside. So they came to tell me that it's time for second service for the person preaching God. I was like, yes, now, Pastor K is outside. Go and tell him. So they go to him and they say, Pastor K, it's time for you to go up. He says, no, Pastor M is preaching. So they come back to me and say, Pastor K says you are preaching and choir is already singing. I'm like, no. No, he's joking. So I go to him and he says, oh, you don't see me playing. I'm playing. I'm not coming in. I'm playing. I'm like, you can't play. You can't. It's God's word. You can't. Do you understand? You can't. Wait. Why are you doing like this? Wait, I tried everything. Unfortunately, I know that most people, their husbands have mumu button. My own has a malfunction. No matter what you do, tears don't move him. Batting your eyes don't move him. Promising him food doesn't move him. Pastor K will do exactly what he wants to do. So I tried everything. Only me. Do you want to disgrace me? You want to embarrass me? He said, we have no reputation for this. I go up nothing. And as he was saying, time is going. Go and get your thoughts together. And so I went up. Honestly, I have no idea what I preached that day. But I learned a huge lesson. To be instant in season and out of season, because if he has done it once, he will do it again. And that's exactly what he did. So he started doing that. He would just say, honey, tomorrow I don't feel like preaching. Will you preach tomorrow? I'm like, no. It's like, do you want me to tell you now? You want me to tell you tomorrow? And I'll just go adjust myself. And because he put that much effort into, and I would finish preaching and he would come and tell me, oh, that was rubbish. Why didn't you add this? Why didn't you add that? I'm like, you can't even encourage me. It's like, I'm not your cheerleader, I'm your coach. And at the time, it was painful. I'm not even going to lie. It was painful. I didn't feel like he was a good husband at the time. It was very annoying, always having to struggle with these things. In fact, even learning how to drive. Pastor Gay dealt with me in this life. So I always tell people, don't just marry a man who spoils you. Marry a man who pampers you, right? But don't marry a man who spoils you. Because I know a lot of women who have made terrible mistakes in their lives because their husband doesn't like to see them cry. If I correct her, she cries. So what? Babies cry, they don't die. Crying never killed anybody. So if you tell her the truth, I think that's the problem Adam had with Eve. Because the Bible says that Adam was right there. He was right there. He could have told her, would you leave that place and move away from there? He was right there when she was talking to Satan. And Satan said, smell the fruit, she smelled it. He said, touch the fruit, she touched it. He said, taste the fruit, she licked it. Then he said, why don't you just take a bite? And Adam was right there. That was a good time to hit it from her hand and say, don't do that rubbish. She ate it. And then maybe she said, I'm eating in Adam. Only me. So do you only me to take the consequences? Take a bite now. Adibo. And Adam said, you know what? I really don't want her to cry. So he just takes, and as he's about to take a bite, she now pushes the whole thing in and he has an Adam's apple. Yes. That's my version. It's not in the Bible, but it's my version. We are all in this problem today because Adibu couldn't tell Eve to drop the fruit. Marry a man who's invested in you, invested enough to tell you the truth, invested enough to train you, invested enough to pray for you.